First, kill and take heat. She HALENGs. Captain Elena Reyes smoothed down her formal diplomatic uniform as the airlock cycled. First human ambassador to the Galactic Confederation's central station. The weight of humanity's future rested on her shoulders, and she could almost physically feel it pressing down on her. Remember, Director Chen's voice echoed in her memory. They'll underestimate you. Let them. The airlock hissed open, revealing a delegation of 7 aliens representing the Confederation's ruling council. Their diversity was stunning. Chitinous exoskeletons, floating gas bags, crystalline structures, and forms that defied easy description. Ambassador Reyes, the central figure, spoke through a translation device. I am High Counselor Zrith of the Mardaxian Empire. Welcome to Nexus Station. Zrith towered over Elena, his armored carapace gleaming under the station lights. The Mardaxians were known warriors, their natural armor and strength making them formidable. His 4 upper limbs ended in powerful gripping appendages. Thank you, High Counselor, Elena replied with a formal bow. I'm honored to represent Earth and humanity at this historic gathering. A floating creature that resembled a luminescent jellyfish drifted forward. Fascinating. It appears so. Fragile, it said, voice tinkling like wind chimes. Are all humans this delicate? How did your species survive long enough to develop space travel? Elena maintained her diplomatic smile. Appearances can be deceiving, Counselor. Humans are quite adaptable. Indeed, chittered a multi-limbed insectoid. Your species lacks natural armaments, has minimal sensory capabilities, and possesses unremarkable physical attributes. Yet you've advanced remarkably quickly for Death World inhabitants. Death World. The classification still irritated Elena. Earth was classified as a Category 3 Death World due to its extreme temperature variations, diverse predators, and turbulent geological activity. To these advanced species, humans were curiosities, primitive creatures who somehow stumbled into spaceflight. The Confederation is eager to learn more about your species, Zrith said, gesturing toward the main concourse with one massive limb. Though I must warn you, our station environment is calibrated for a variety of physiologies. You may find certain sections uncomfortable. I appreciate the concern, Elena replied, but humans adapt quickly to discomfort. As they moved through the station, Elena marveled at its scale. 30 kilometers of interconnected habitats, research facilities, and diplomatic quarters housing representatives from over 200 spacefaring civilizations. Humanity, the newcomers, had been granted a small section in the outlying ring. The station was a riot of sounds, smells, and sights. Gravity shifted subtly between sections, atmospheric composition varied, and temperature fluctuated wildly. Elena noticed the other delegates watching her closely, perhaps waiting for signs of distress. Your quarters are in Section 94 Beta, Zrith explained. We've attempted to replicate Earth standard conditions, though our understanding of your requirements is limited. The delegation passed through a sector where the temperature dropped precipitously. Frost formed instantly on Elena's uniform, and her breath clouded before her face. The aliens showed no discomfort. The Tholian delegation prefers cryogenic environments. A crystalline entity explained unnecessarily. Perhaps we should detour. This route is fine, Elena said, continuing forward without breaking stride. Her uniform's thermal regulation was working overtime, but showing weakness wasn't an option. They'd reached her quarters after passing through 3 more environmentally challenging sectors. Elena maintained her composure throughout, though sweat beaded on her forehead from a sudden shift to steam bath conditions in the vaporid sector. The opening summit begins in 2 station cycles, Zrith announced. Your presentation on human civilization is scheduled early in the proceedings. I'll be prepared, Elena assured him. After the delegation departed, Elena examined her quarters. The aliens had indeed attempted to create Earth-like conditions, but missed the mark in amusing ways. The gravity was slightly too heavy, the lighting too blue, and the furniture designed for beings with different proportions. Elena unpacked her diplomatic materials and began reviewing her presentation. Humanity was petitioning for full membership in the Confederation, a step up from their current observer status. The odds weren't favorable. Most species spent decades proving their value before advancement. Her communication device chimed. Captain Reyes, preliminary schedule change. An automated voice announced. Your species assessment has been moved forward. The evaluatory committee requests your presence in Chamber 12 immediately. Elena frowned. This was unexpected and suspicious. Changing established diplomatic protocols without notice was either a test or a deliberate attempt to undermine her. Either way, she had no choice but to comply. Chamber 12 was located in a distant section of the station. Elena navigated the complex corridors, passing through environments ranging from near-vacuum to high-pressure zones that made her ears pop painfully. By the time she reached the chamber, her uniform was rumpled and her composure slightly frayed. Inside, representatives from 5 species sat behind an elevated panel. She recognized Zrith and the luminescent jellyfish creature. The others were new, a being composed entirely of shifting metallic spheres, something resembling a sentient plant, and a creature so alien Elena couldn't determine its basic morphology. Ambassador Reyes. Zrith's voice carried a note of surprise. You arrived more quickly than anticipated. When the Confederation calls, humanity answers, Elena replied smoothly. Suspicions confirmed. They had expected her to get lost, arrive late, or request assistance, showing human inadequacy. We wish to understand human resilience before your formal presentation. The plant-like being stated, tendrils waving gently. Your species evolved on a Category 3 death world, yet lacks obvious survival adaptations. What are your defensive capabilities? The metallic entity asked bluntly. How does your species repel predators? Elena smiled diplomatically. Humans developed intelligence and tool use as our primary adaptation. We're not the strongest or fastest species on Earth, but we're among the most enduring. Endurance. The jellyfish chimed skeptically. Your biological structure appears highly susceptible to damage. Appearances can be deceiving. Elena repeated her earlier statement. Humans can continue functioning despite significant injury, extreme temperature variations, and prolonged physical stress. The committee exchanged glances that Elena couldn't interpret. Theory is one matter, Zrith said finally. Demonstration is another. The Confederation values practical evidence. Before Elena could respond, alarms blared throughout the chamber. Red emergency lights pulsed, and a computerized voice echoed in multiple languages. Station alert. Gravitational stabilizers failing in Central Hub. Emergency protocols activated. All personnel evacuate sectors 30 through 65 immediately. The committee members rose in alarm. The Central Hub contained the station's primary command center and life support systems. This is unprecedented. The plant being's tendrils twisted anxiously. The station's systems are triple redundant. The chamber shuddered violently. Elena grabbed the edge of a console to steady herself as the artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. Emergency response teams will handle this, Zrith announced, heading toward the exit. The evaluation is postponed. Elena followed the committee into the corridor, where chaos had erupted. Beings of various species rushed in all directions. Another violent shudder ran through the station, stronger than the first. The lights flickered and died, replaced by dim emergency illumination. Life support compromised in sectors 40 through 55. The automated voice announced, structural integrity at risk. We must reach the emergency shuttles. The jellyfish chimed frantically, its luminescence pulsing with obvious distress. Elena's diplomatic training included crisis management, but this was beyond anything she'd prepared for. As the committee moved toward the evacuation route, another explosion rocked the station. Part of the ceiling collapsed, blocking their path with debris. The plant being emitted a high-pitched keening sound. We're trapped. The evacuation route is blocked. Elena quickly assessed the situation. The debris wasn't impossibly heavy, but it would require coordination to clear safely. "We can move this," she said firmly, "but we need to work together." The committee members stared at her in what she interpreted as disbelief. "Physical labor is not our function," Shrith stated. "Emergency responders will clear the path." "If they can reach us," Elena countered. "Life support is failing. We don't have time to wait." When none of the aliens moved to help, Elena began clearing smaller pieces of debris herself. The task was difficult in the fluctuating gravity, but her military training had prepared her for operating in challenging conditions. "Your species actually performs physical labor?" the metallic being asked, spheres rearranging in what Elena guessed was surprise. "When necessary," Elena grunted, shifting a heavy panel. "Which is now." After watching her struggle for several moments, Srith finally stepped forward. With his superior strength, he moved larger pieces easily. The others eventually joined in, though with obvious reluctance. As they cleared the path, Elena noticed the air growing thinner. The life support systems were degrading faster than expected. "We need to move quickly," she urged. "The air is becoming compromised." "How can you tell?" the jellyfish asked. "Our environmental sensors are offline." "I can feel it," Elena explained. "Human lungs are sensitive to oxygen changes." They pressed onward through increasingly damaged sections of the station. Twice more they had to clear debris. Once they detoured through a section where radiation warnings flashed on emergency panels. Elena knew her exposure would be within tolerable limits for a short duration, but the aliens were visibly concerned. "This section is unsafe for biological organisms," the plant being protested. "It's unsafe for extended periods," Elena corrected. "We'll pass through quickly." As they navigated the crisis, Elena found herself naturally taking command. The aliens, despite their advanced technology and evolved capabilities, seemed poorly equipped to handle unexpected physical challenges. They followed her directions with increasing deference. After an exhausting hour of navigating the damaged station, they reached a functioning emergency shuttle bay. Other survivors were boarding vessels, some injured, all displaying signs of stress. As they prepared to board a shuttle, Srith turned to Elena. "Your actions were unexpected, Ambassador. Few species would risk physical harm to assist others outside their biological classification." "It's what humans do," Elena replied simply. "We help each other survive." The shuttle launched, joining others evacuating the damaged station. Through a viewport, Elena watched as sections of the massive structure went dark. Whatever had happened, it was catastrophic. "The Central Council will convene on the planetary base," Srith informed her. "Your presentation will be rescheduled." "I believe Ambassador Reyes has already made quite a presentation," the jellyfish chimed, its luminescence pulsing in complex patterns. "One worth considerable evaluation." As the shuttle docked with the planetary base, Elena realized that the disaster, terrible as it was, had given humanity something invaluable. A chance to demonstrate, rather than merely describe what made humans unique in the galaxy. The real diplomatic work was just beginning. Trial by fire. The planetary base orbiting Nexus Prime was never designed to accommodate the full diplomatic corps of the Galactic Confederation. Thousands of delegates from hundreds of species crowded into facilities meant for a skeleton maintenance crew. Elena found herself sharing cramped quarters with delegates from 3 other worlds. "This situation is intolerable," complained Ambassador Thos, a methane-breathing entity whose environmental suit emitted constant hissing sounds. "My species requires 16 hours of isolation during our consciousness cycle." Elena, who had been sleeping on the floor to allow the other delegates use of the limited furnishings, simply nodded. "We'll make do, Ambassador. The emergency teams say we'll only be here for another week." "A week?" The crystalline delegate, Ambassador Crix of the Lumidian Collective, vibrated in distress. "My crystalline matrix cannot endure these radiation levels for a full week without proper shielding." "I have an extra radiation dampener in my gear," Elena offered. It's calibrated for humans, but it might help reduce your exposure. The alien structure pulsed with surprise. You would share your protective equipment. Of course, Elena said, retrieving the device. That's what allies do. As she adjusted the dampener to suit the crystalline being's needs, emergency alarms blared throughout the base. Red warning lights pulsed along the corridors. Alert. Security breach in Section 7. Unknown hostiles detected. All diplomatic personnel remain in quarters. Security teams responding. Elena froze, listening intently. Distant sounds of energy weapons echoed through the structure. What is happening? Asked the fourth roommate, a gaseous entity named Voon who communicated through controlled density fluctuations. Is this another system failure? No, Elena said grimly. Those are weapons. The station disaster wasn't an accident. It was an attack. And they followed us here. The door to their quarters slid open suddenly, and 3 security officers rushed in. 2 Mardaxians like Zrith, and a sleek, feline species Elena didn't recognize. Ambassador Reyes, the lead officer, addressed her directly. High Counselor Zrith requests your presence immediately. The rest of you, remain here under guard. What's happening? Elena demanded as they hurried her through the corridors. The station sabotage was only Phase 1, the officer explained tersely. A previously unknown faction has infiltrated Confederation security. They've disabled our central defense grid and communications array. Why does Zrith want me? Because humans are. The officer seemed uncomfortable. Your species has recent experience with conflict. Most Confederation species have evolved beyond physical confrontation. They arrived at what had been converted into a command center. Inside, Zrith and representatives from a dozen major species huddled around holographic displays showing the base's schematics. Security breaches flashed in multiple sections. Ambassador Reyes, Zrith acknowledged her arrival. We face an unprecedented situation. You mean an attack? Elena said plainly. Yes, a faction calling themselves the Purification Front has infiltrated our security forces. They oppose expansion of the Confederation, particularly the inclusion of primitive species, meaning humanity, and several other recent applicants. Elena studied the tactical displays. They've taken control of your communication systems and defense grid. They're isolating sections of the base systematically. Correct. A tall, willowy alien with 4 arms confirmed. Our security forces are trained for civil peacekeeping, not military conflict. We have not faced organized violence in over 300 cycles. Elena's military training kicked in as she analyzed the situation. You need to evacuate non-essential personnel to the emergency shuttles immediately. Establish secure zones for essential leadership. And someone needs to get to the central communications array to restore contact with Confederation forces. The alien stared at her in what she interpreted as shock. You speak of this with concerning familiarity, noted a floating brain-like entity. Humanity unified relatively recently, Elena explained diplomatically. We have historical experience with conflict resolution. That is why I requested your presence, Zrith said. My species was once warriors, but we have been peacekeepers for millennia. You have. Fresher perspective. I'll help however I can, Elena promised. But first, I need to understand your security capabilities. The next hour was spent in intensive planning. The attacking force had control of 3 critical systems: life support, communications, and the primary defense grid. Without communications, they couldn't call for help. With control of life support, the attackers could threaten everyone on the base. Our priority must be the communications array, Elena insisted. Once we restore contact with Confederation forces, the attackers lose their advantage. The array is in Section 12. A security officer reported. They have established multiple defensive positions between here and there. What about maintenance access? Elena asked, studying the schematics. Service tunnels, air circulation systems. Maintenance tunnels exist, Zrith confirmed, but they are narrow and physically demanding to navigate. Many species cannot traverse them. Elena traced a potential route on the display. I can. A human could make it through these tunnels to reach the communications array. Alone. The willowy alien seemed horrified. That would be extremely dangerous. Dangerous, yes. Impossible, no. Elena pointed to a junction on the schematic. I'll need detailed instructions on restarting the communication system once I reach it. Despite objections, no better plan emerged. With time running out and sections of the base systematically falling to the attackers, Elena prepared for her mission. The aliens provided her with a communication device and technical instructions. This plan places you at unacceptable risk, Zrith said as Elena prepared to enter the maintenance system. The Confederation does not ask representatives to endanger themselves. You didn't ask, Elena replied, checking the small toolkit they'd provided. I volunteered. That's another human trait your files might not mention. We're stubborn. The maintenance tunnel was as challenging as expected, tight, poorly lit, and designed for mechanical drones rather than organic beings. Elena crawled through narrow passages where the ceiling sometimes dropped to less than half a meter. The station's environmental controls were compromised, creating pockets of extreme heat and cold. After 20 minutes of difficult progress, Elena paused at a junction to check her position on the small mapping device they'd given her. She was approximately halfway to the communications array. Her communication device crackled. Ambassador Reyes, be advised. Security sensors detect movement in the tunnels ahead. The purification front may have anticipated this approach. Elena considered her options. The only alternative route would take hours longer, and they didn't have that kind of time. Understood. Proceeding with caution. She continued forward, moving as silently as possible. The next section of tunnel was particularly narrow, requiring her to slither on her stomach through dust and debris. Earth's slightly higher gravity had given her an advantage. Her muscles were stronger than the aliens expected, allowing her to navigate obstacles that would have stopped many Confederation species. As she approached a ventilation hub, Elena heard voices. She froze, controlling her breathing as she had been taught in tactical training. Should have been automatic, a voice was saying. These tunnels are too small for most species. Except the humans, another voice replied. Intelligence reports indicate they are surprisingly adaptable. Elena carefully retrieved a small mirror from her toolkit and extended it around the corner. Two beings in environmental suits stood guard at the junction ahead. Members of a spindly species she didn't recognize. They carried energy weapons and appeared to be monitoring sensor equipment. There was no way around them. The junction was the only path forward to the communications array. Elena weighed her options. The aliens were physically fragile compared to humans. Their limbs were thin and their joint structure suggested limited flexibility. Their advantage was technology, the energy weapons and sensor equipment. Making her decision, Elena reached into the toolkit and removed a small maintenance drone. Originally designed for repair work, she quickly reprogrammed it using the technical instructions she'd been given. She sent the drone ahead, watching on its visual feed as it approached the junction. The guards immediately turned toward the mechanical sound. When they focused on the drone, Elena moved. Years of combat training took over as she launched herself from the tunnel into the junction space. The first guard went down before he could raise his weapon. The second managed to fire once, a glancing shot that scorched Elena's shoulder, before she disarmed him with a precise strike to his thin wrist. Both guards secured, Elena continued toward the communications array. The pain in her shoulder was intense, but manageable. Human pain tolerance, another evolutionary advantage her species had developed. She reached the access panel to the communications center and used the security codes provided by Zrith to bypass the lock. Inside, the communications array stood dark and silent. Following the technical instructions, Elena began the complex restart sequence. The system had been deliberately sabotaged, not merely deactivated. Twice she had to improvise solutions when the standard protocols failed. After 20 tense minutes, the array hummed to life. Emergency power rerouted to critical systems, and the communications display illuminated. "This is Ambassador Elena Reyes of Earth." She transmitted on the emergency channel. "Nexus base has been compromised by hostile forces, requesting immediate Confederation security response." The response was immediate. "Ambassador Reyes, this is Confederation security vessel Justikar. We have been attempting to contact the base for 6 hours. What is your situation?" Elena quickly explained the attack and provided tactical information on the infiltrators' positions. With communications restored, the tide quickly turned against the purification front. Confederation security forces were able to coordinate their response, and within hours, they had regained control of critical systems. When Elena finally emerged from the maintenance tunnels near the command center, she found Zrith and the other counselors waiting. Medical personnel immediately moved to treat her injured shoulder. "Ambassador Reyes," Zrith's voice carried surprising emotion. "Your actions today were what any human would have done." Elena finished for him, wincing as a medic applied treatment to her burn. "That is precisely what concerns us," said the willowy alien. "If what you demonstrated is truly representative of ordinary human capabilities, we have significantly underestimated your species." The floating brain entity drifted closer. "You traversed environmental conditions that would incapacitate most Confederation species. You engaged hostile forces physically. You improvised technical solutions under extreme pressure, all without specialized training or equipment." Elena struggled to maintain her diplomatic composure through the pain and exhaustion. "As I've been trying to explain since my arrival, humans evolved to survive. It's what we do best. The Confederation's assessment protocols must be revised," Zrith declared. "Humanity's classification requires immediate reconsideration." As medical personnel continued treating her injuries, Elena realized that the disaster and subsequent attack had accomplished what years of formal diplomatic negotiations might never have achieved. Humanity had proven its value to the Confederation not through words, but through actions. The trial by fire had only just begun, but humanity had passed its first test. Respect and need. The Confederation Grand Chamber had been hastily reconstructed on the southern continent of Nexus Prime. Though lacking the grandeur of the original station facility, it served its purpose, bringing together representatives from all member species to address the unprecedented crisis. Elena stood at the center of the chamber, the focus of thousands of alien eyes, optical sensors, and sensory appendages. Her formal uniform had been replaced, the original damaged beyond repair during her crawl through the maintenance tunnels. The replacement was emblazoned with a new insignia, the Earth alongside the Confederation emblem. "Ambassador Elena Reyes of Earth," High Counselor Zrith's voice echoed through the vast space. "You stand before the assembled Confederation at a historic moment." The past 3 days had been a whirlwind of debriefings, medical treatments, and emergency planning sessions. The Purification Front's attack had been more extensive than initially believed. Sleeper agents had infiltrated multiple Confederation facilities across 7 star systems. The recent attacks targeted not only our infrastructure but our foundational principles, Zrith continued. The Purification Front seeks to restrict Confederation membership to established spacefaring civilizations, excluding emerging species like humanity. Elena stood steady, her bandaged shoulder a reminder of the price already paid. Intelligence reports indicated the front was planning additional attacks, specifically targeting Earth and other candidate worlds. "Ambassador Reyes, your actions during the crisis demonstrated qualities that many within the Confederation had forgotten: adaptability, courage, and the willingness to risk personal safety for collective security. These qualities were once common among our ancestors, but have faded through millennia of peace and technological advancement." A murmur ran through the assembled delegates. Before recent events, humanity was classified as a Category I developing species from a death world environment. Your petition for full membership was considered premature. Zrith's voice carried genuine regret. We now recognize this assessment was in error. Elena maintained her diplomatic composure, though her heart raced. This was the moment that would define humanity's place in the galactic community. The High Council hereby reclassifies humanity as a category I resilient adaptive species. Furthermore, Earth's petition for full Confederation membership is approved, effective immediately. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of sounds, the various species' expressions of approval, surprise, or protest. Elena allowed herself a small smile. Director Chen would be pleased. Zrith raised his upper limbs for silence. This unprecedented acceleration of membership comes with equally unprecedented responsibilities. The Confederation faces an internal threat unlike any in our recent history. We require humanity's unique perspective. Now came the true test of diplomacy. Elena stepped forward. Some delegates shifted uncomfortably. Direct confrontation was not the Confederation way. The Purification Front emerged because the Confederation has become comfortable. You've forgotten what built your civilization. Overcoming challenges, adapting to threats, evolving beyond limitations. These qualities still define humanity because our challenges are recent. Our scars are fresh. Elena gestured to the assembled delegates. Many of you see humans as primitive because we still train for combat, prepare for disasters, and maintain physical capabilities your species abandoned millennia ago. You've delegated your survival to technology and specialized subgroups. But when that technology failed, those specializations became vulnerabilities. Is this how Earth diplomacy functions? Asked a delegate resembling a sentient coral formation. Through accusation. This is how human honesty functions, Elena corrected. The Purification Front exploited weaknesses in your systems because they recognize something you've forgotten. Technical advancement without adaptive resilience creates fragility. Zrith's posture suggested agreement rather than offense. Ambassador Reyes expresses directly what many have observed indirectly. Our civilization has grown complacent. Humanity doesn't seek to change the Confederation. Elena continued more diplomatically. We seek to complement it. Your technological and cultural achievements are extraordinary. But perhaps what humanity brings to this alliance is a reminder of qualities your ancestors possessed: adaptability, resilience, and the stubborn refusal to accept limitations. The willowy alien Elena had worked with during the crisis floated forward. The human speaks truth that discomforts, but truth nonetheless. The Purification Front's initial success demonstrates our vulnerabilities. A new communication alert sounded throughout the chamber. A massive holographic display activated, showing a Confederation security vessel under attack near the system's outer boundary. Emergency alert, an automated voice announced. Purification Front vessels detected in the Nexus system. Confederation defenses engaging. The chamber erupted in chaos. Many delegates had never witnessed actual combat, even remotely. Elena studied the tactical display with practiced eyes, noting the attack patterns. They're targeting the planetary defense grid, she observed. The same strategy they used on the station. Disable defenses, then communications, then life support. Zrith moved beside her. Our security forces are responding, but as you've noted, they lack recent combat experience. Let me help, Elena offered. Earth's military has studied asymmetric warfare extensively. What followed was a crash course in human military thinking. Elena worked directly with Confederation security coordinators, analyzing the attackers' patterns and suggesting countermeasures. The Purification Front had expected to face the same predictable defense algorithms they had already compromised. Instead, they encountered constantly shifting tactics inspired by centuries of human military evolution. They're adapting, a security coordinator noted with alarm as the attacking vessels changed formation. So will we, Elena replied, suggesting a new approach based on Earth naval tactics from centuries past. For 4 hours, the battle raged in the outer system. The Confederation forces, guided by Elena's suggestions, gradually gained the upper hand. When the final Purification Front vessel was captured, a cheer rippled through the command center. This victory belongs to humanity as much as to the Confederation, Zrith announced when they returned to the Grand Chamber. Ambassador Reyes provided insights our security forces had not considered in generations. Elena shook her head. The victory belongs to cooperation, High Counselor. Human tactical thinking, combined with your advanced technology. That's the true strength of this alliance. Indeed, Zrith turned to address the assembled delegates. Today marks a new chapter in Confederation history. For too long, we have believed that advanced civilization meant leaving behind the adaptive traits that helped us survive our evolutionary challenges. Humanity reminds us that true advancement means integrating our past strengths with our present capabilities. The Confederation's formal acceptance ceremony for Earth was conducted the following day. Elena stood before the assembled delegates as Zrith presented her with the symbolic key of membership, a crystalline structure containing the full knowledge archives of the Confederation. Ambassador Reyes, with this key, humanity gains access to technologies and knowledge accumulated over 50,000 years of Confederation history. Zrith intoned formally. How does Earth receive this gift? Elena accepted the crystal, feeling its weight, both physical and symbolic. Earth receives this knowledge with gratitude and offers in return our most valuable resource, our perspective. Humanity's path to the stars was neither easy nor perfect. We carry the scars of our struggles, but also the lessons they taught us. She raised the crystal so it caught the light. With this alliance, the Confederation gains not merely another member world, but a reminder of qualities all your species once possessed. Determination in the face of adversity, adaptability in changing circumstances, and the courage to face challenges directly rather than through proxies and automation. Zrith's posture conveyed profound respect. The Confederation accepts humanity's gift. Perhaps we needed to be reminded that technological advancement without adaptive resilience leads to stagnation. Your species classification has been permanently revised in our archives. Later, in a private meeting with the High Council, Elena received the official classification update. Earth had been redesignated from Category I, developing death world species, to Category I, adaptive resilient species with strategic value. This classification has only been assigned to 3 other species in Confederation history, the willowy counselor explained. It recognizes capabilities beyond mere technological achievement. I hope we live up to your expectations, Elena said honestly. You already have, Zrith replied. But there is another matter we must discuss. The Purification Front, though defeated here, has cells throughout Confederation space. Intelligence suggests they specifically fear humanity's influence and have targeted Earth for isolation, if not destruction. Elena's expression hardened. Earth has faced threats before. Not like this, Zrith cautioned. The Purification Front possesses technology centuries beyond Earth's current capabilities. What are you suggesting? A joint security initiative, Zrith explained. Confederation technology with human tactical direction. We propose establishing an integrated defense force, the first in 3,000 years of Confederation history. Elena understood the significance. The Confederation had maintained peace through diplomatic and economic means for millennia. Creating a dedicated military force represented a fundamental shift in philosophy. You're asking humanity to help militarize the Confederation. We are asking humanity to help the Confederation remember how to defend itself, Zrith corrected. Recent events have demonstrated the necessity. Elena considered the implications carefully. Earth had worked for decades to overcome its own history of conflict. The risk of being stereotyped as the Confederation's warriors was substantial. Earth will assist with defense readiness and tactical training, she said finally. But we will not become the Confederation's military arm. Our value lies in our adaptability and perspective, not merely our familiarity with conflict. A wise boundary, Zrith agreed. The Council accepts these terms. As the meeting concluded, Elena found herself on a balcony overlooking the vast alien landscape of Nexus Prime. The planet's 3 moons were rising over distant mountains, casting multiple shadows across the valley below. Her communication device activated with an incoming message from Earth. Director Chen's face appeared, looking both proud and concerned. Captain Reyes, he greeted her formally. News of your actions has reached Earth. The Secretary General sends her highest commendation. Thank you, sir. It's been educational. Chen smiled slightly. Your reports indicate significant changes in the Confederation's perception of humanity. Yes, sir. We're no longer viewed as primitive curiosities. That's progress. And the cost? Chen asked perceptively. Elena touched her still healing shoulder. We may have traded one stereotype for another. Before, they saw us as primitive. Now they're fascinated by our capacity for handling crisis and conflict. Is that better or worse? Different, Elena replied thoughtfully. They've lived in peace so long they've forgotten its price. Humanity remembers because our history forces us to. That perspective has value, but also danger. Chen nodded understanding. Don't let them make us into something we're not, Captain. No, sir. But I won't hide what we are, either. Humans aren't just adaptable physically. We're philosophically flexible, too. We can help the Confederation remember its own resilience without becoming its designated warriors. As the communication ended, Elena gazed again at the alien sky. Humanity had earned the Confederation's respect, but respect came with expectations. The real diplomatic challenge was just beginning, helping an ancient civilization rediscover its own capacity for adaptation without sacrificing the peace they had built over millennia. A soft chime announced a visitor. Elena turned to see Zrith approaching, his massive form silhouetted against the alien sunset. Ambassador Reyes, he greeted her. The Council has completed the formal integration protocols. Earth's databases are now linked to the Confederation knowledge repositories. That was fast, Elena observed. Necessity accelerates process, Zrith replied. The purification front's threat remains. Their ideology has spread further than we initially estimated. Elena nodded. On Earth, we have a saying, crisis reveals character. Indeed. Zrith moved to stand beside her at the railing. The crisis has revealed much about the Confederation and about humanity. What has it revealed about us? Elena asked. Zrith was silent for a moment, his compound eyes reflecting the moons above. That your species possesses a quality we had forgotten, the ability to thrive in adversity rather than merely survive it. Humans do not simply endure challenges, you grow stronger through them. Elena smiled. We've had plenty of practice. The Confederation once possessed this quality, Zrith continued. Our ancient archives speak of times when our ancestors faced extinction-level threats and emerged transformed. But peace and prosperity dulled these adaptive traits. Peace and prosperity are worthy goals, Elena pointed out. Yes, but not at the cost of resilience. Zrith's massive limb gestured toward the horizon. The Confederation has built wonders, Ambassador. We have cured diseases, eliminated scarcity, extended lifespans, and explored a quarter of this galaxy. Yet in 3 days, a small group of extremists nearly destroyed it all because we forgot how to respond to the unexpected. The truth of his words hung between them. The Confederation's greatest strength, its stability, had become its greatest vulnerability. Earth still remembers, Elena said finally. Not because we're superior, but because our path to the stars was more recent and more difficult. What humanity can offer the Confederation isn't our capacity for conflict, it's our capacity for renewal. As Zrith departed, Elena remained on the balcony, watching unfamiliar constellations emerge in the alien sky. Humanity had found its place among the stars not despite their challenges, but because of them. Their perceived weakness, their struggle-forged resilience, had become their greatest strength. In the vastness of the Confederation, humanity would be a reminder of what all species once knew, that true advancement came not from escaping adversity, but from transforming it into opportunity. The real work was just beginning. The end.